the house may be great. It turns out that the street has 6 houses that have burned down. You have another 6 houses on this side that are all boarded up. And yours is the only house that's good. Pay attention to the trees. And if they got limbs that are hanging over, that becomes your responsibility. Foundations are the key. For me, it's the heart of the house. It's that kind of stuff that investors, out-of-state investors, particularly having good boots on the ground, having a good agent, having a good property manager, just takes time to get all that. It just doesn't happen overnight, and you got to interview a lot of people.
Hey, what's going on? This is Brett Snodgrass with another episode of the Indy Investor Podcast. Got Steve Lehman, veteran, real estate, mogul.
Mogul.
That's right. How you doing, Steve?
I'm good. How are you doing, Brett?
I'm doing fantastic, man. Thank you so much for being on the podcast today. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
So Steve Lehman, guys, I just want to introduce you to him. So seasoned real estate investor, been in the Indianapolis, Indiana market for years. How many years, Steve? 20?
Oh, I'm going back to 20. Let's see. I came down from Chicago in 2009, started looking at the area in 2010, and really started taking off in 2011 is when I really started to make some moves.
Nice. So he's been in the Indianapolis real estate market for 15 or so years, and he's known kind of for your brutal honesty. I kind of wrote that down. Yeah.
I'm pretty straight to the point,
That's
and
right.
I don't hold back, and I'm not afraid to just kind of give my opinion.
That's right. I think when I first met you, you probably didn't know me back in the day, but I went to, I think, some of the FS Houses stuff or Alpine stuff, and I might have seen you in the crowd, or maybe it was Syria or something, and I was like, man, this guy's kind of a jerk.
Yes, I am.
I was like, but you're a big teddy bear, honestly, once you get to know you after several years. So
that's what people tell me. Yeah, it only takes a couple of years to get to know me, right?
That's right. But guys, you might have seen Steve. He has a actually brand new YouTube channel called The Grumpy Real Estate Investor, which make sure you guys check that out. He's a no nonsense guy, just tells it how it is, but so much experience in flipping houses, dealing with tenants, squatters, contractors, just navigating Indianapolis streets all these years. And you do some consulting for other investors, out-of-state investors looking at properties. Thanks to that, also with us. And today we're going to have some fun, guys. Just talk about some stories, some wild stories, war stories, some things that Steve's gotten into. I think you've gotten into quite a few things.
I've been in a few things. Yep.
Have you ever been chased out of a property or anything?
I have never been chased. In all honesty, the squatters have always been pretty reasonable for the most part. I've never been chased out of anything. I have had difficulties getting them to move.
Yeah. Right.
Where there has
How do you get a squatter to move?
I go in there and say, I walk in, I go, hey folks, let's go, wrap it up. Get your stuff, get it all together. Let's get going. You're not supposed to be here. That's exactly how I respond to them. And I would say 99% of them move. Gotcha. Every now and then you're going to get one or two that don't. And then I usually come back in with a baseball bat, start slamming on the frame of the door going, hello, let's go. I wasn't kidding. We got to go. Let's go.
Nice. Nice. I know that's one of your things. You don't like working with squatters though.
I don't mind. It could be worse. I've dealt with worse things, I think.
Yeah, it's a nasty part of the business. Nasty part.
I mean, I used to be a truck driver, and I've been downtown Chicago on the south side. It's been much worse.
Yes. Yes. Well, Steve, I know you got some stories, things like that. Have you been? Do you remember a worst house that you've been in? Like you had to walk through it, but like a condition or a hoarder type of situation, or was there something that comes to mind? Like, hey, this was one that. Yeah,
there's one that always stands out in the back of my mind every time I think of something of the worst house. And honestly, it was one of yours.
Yes. That's not the charts we want to be on, but
it was when you guys are taking it down and trying to buy it and all that. And you guys, and this was just what happened to be in an area, and it became on the news, got on the news about these squatters that were moving from house to house in the neighborhood. And they wound up getting in the house that you guys were buying, And this place was packed. The
Mm.
front yard was packed. The inside was packed. The backyard. And I'm talking ground here. I mean, there was a lot of stuff.
Wow.
I mean, just a lot of stuff. And you just wouldn't believe how they were living.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like,
Yeah.
what is going on? And they weren't even like living in the house anymore. They were just like utilizing it to do,
Storage.
yeah,
All
and
this
stuff like
crap.
that. And I'm just going, wow, this is just mind boggling. And, normally I walk into these houses and you'll see maybe human feces or whatever and stuff like that. And that's kind of normal. And I know human feces is normal, right?
Yeah. Yeah, right. It's like, whoa.
You open up a closet door and go, hey, there it is.
Right.
But these people were just like they're beyond hoarders. It was just everything they went down the alleyway, they grabbed it and just brought it.
Wow.
And they wouldn't leave. The police were there prior to you guys even getting in. I talked to the IMPD police officers, and they said they just couldn't get rid of them either. They couldn't get these people to go. Finally, between IMPD, myself, just constantly being there, they finally vacated. And I forgot what you guys told me, but I think it was more than 3 dumpster fulls. And I'm talking large dumpsters, not the small ones. I mean,
Yeah.
10, 12 dumpsters. And yeah, it just was a tremendous thing. And the funny thing is, they went a few doors down and parked themselves in the backyard. And that's where the news story came in. It was, it was just a mess.
Wow. Yeah. I remember one house, this was several years ago, but I remember the cost and maybe we got taken on the clean out. I'm not sure, but typically if I can imagine like the worst even clean outs of all the stuff, when I talk about clean outs, guys, I'm talking about, we send in crews, we clean out all the personal belongings out of the particular house. And I remember one year, this one house, usually the worst of it is usually about maybe 4 or 5 grand ish, something like that.
Yeah.
And this was about $12,000. I don't know how many dumpster loads it was to get out of that particular property, but it's we've had houses like that, kind of crazy. And I know, Steve, this is one of my funny stories. This is actually on your Grumpy Real Estate Investor video. You took one of our homes, and there was a crazy story just behind that it made us all like laugh. It's not funny because I would have been probably peeing my pants, I think, if I was actually there. But tell us about the story about the man that blended in.
The man that blended in. That's good. I like it. The man that blended in. I actually walked up to this house and I knew something. I got the information from May and I'm like, okay, something's just not right. And I just had a gut feeling that something was, somebody was going to be inside. And you guys didn't have keys, so I picked the lock and got in. And yes, I do that. I pick locks. I've gotten very good over after all these years. And I got inside and I walked through the whole house. Hey, anybody here? Knocking on walls, knocking on, everything. No baseball bat, just kind of just pounding. And this is what I do every time I walk inside a vacant property. I always, make sure that I'm listening for not just humans, but animals. Because sometimes dogs or cats or other animals can get inside the house and you want to make sure you're not sticking around that house. So, but I walk inside, I do everything. I do video for you guys. So I do walkthrough videos. And I did the whole entire house, upstairs, downstairs, basement, or I don't think that had a basement. Upstairs, downstairs, outside, everything. Went in and out this back door, the whole entire works, the whole entire time. Took pictures, everything. As I was rekeying the property, I go to the back door, I drill it all out, and all of a sudden I look behind me, and there's a person sitting there.
Right.
And I go, how long you been standing there? Well, I just woke up.
Wow.
And and from there it was, I talked to them nicely because that's what I do with them because they just want to be treated like humans, right? I mean, I didn't go screaming or yelling at them, and I didn't call the police. I asked if he wanted to have the police called. He said he was cold, and sometimes they do actually, amazingly enough, want to have the police called so they can go and get warm and get some 3 square meals and get some food in their system.
Right.
This guy didn't want to, and that's fine, but he left all on his own. And he came running back in afterwards. That wasn't on the video. came running back in going, oh, I forgot something. I go, I told you to take everything. I go, take whatever you want.
Right.
Nobody's coming back for any of this stuff, right? So he wound up grabbing his bag and his blanket and ran out of there. But I looked back in the video that I took when I was walking through the whole kitchen, and mind you, this house was cluttered. I mean, cluttered. And I didn't walk fully into that kitchen because there's so much garbage and trash. And every time I see that, in the back of my head, my wife going, watch out for roaches and roach eggs. Every time I do, I'm like, man. So I have a special pair of boots that I wear. And when I didn't go into the kitchen area far enough, and I just kind of glanced over it. And on my video, as I went through it, this guy literally had a brown jacket on, Levi's, I assume, but blue jeans, was laying on the countertop that was a brown, like 1980s type of countertop with the refrigerator right here. And he's laying, and he blended in. He blended in. I looked at the video and I stopped it and I go, holy crap, he's right there.
You just walk right by him.
And this is the first time that's ever happened, because I am so adamant about making sure those houses are clear before I do anything. It's so important for my safety and their safety. It's not just me, but it's them too.
Right.
So, and it's important though but yeah, that guy, he blended right in there.
That's crazy. That's the first time that's ever happened.
Yeah, first time that's ever happened. Normally, I get them and just ask them to leave and get them on their way. That was a new one on me. I had one of my vet friends. He goes, I think you're getting old if you're not paying attention anymore.
Yes, it's so funny. We hired one story that we hired a girl. Her name is Megan. She works with us now, and she was training, and she was doing a walkthrough, and she was taking some pictures and videos, and she sent us a picture of the backyard on this particular house, and she's like, "Is this normal?" And so I was like looking at it, and there was a coffin just sitting in the backyard, just sitting there, just above ground, no big deal. I'm like, I don't know. I've never seen that. I was like, what's in it? And I think it was, I think that they sold her there. It had Christmas decorations in it. So like they're using a coffin, I guess, for storing their Christmas decorations. So
you go.
Makes sense.
So there's things that when you go on these vacant properties, there's things you don't do. You don't open toilets. You don't open refrigerators or ovens.
Right.
Now, coffins, I don't know.
Right.
Do you take the chance on opening it? Nah.
No, it's crazy. Well, guys, whether you're in Indianapolis or whether you're not in Indianapolis, you're going to have some crazy stories. We have so many crazy stories of houses or people that we work with. I've had crazy tenants. One that comes to mind. I don't know if you were involved with this one or not, but we had a tenant, and I think it was like the cousin of these squatters, but they didn't even come into the house, these squatters, but this cousin or something would come in and he would beat down the cellar, which was on the outside, one of those old cellars that you open up on the outside. Yeah. And he would actually live and hang out in the cellar, and they would have 2 a.m. meth parties. And we called the cops several times. We bolted the cellar. We had to, but you know what? It doesn't keep them out, and they just keep knocking on that cellar door and living in the cellar.
And they do. Once they find their place, they will continue to come back. And even if you try to board it up, they've gotten so equipped to doing and dealing with that now that they go in garages, steal drills, steal the drill bits, and they'll start taking the boards off.
Yeah. So, yep. Wow. Yeah, that's crazy. Well, crazy stories. Steve, I know, one of your jobs is really working with a lot of investors that just to, look at properties, inspect properties, consult investors, see if there's any red flags, things like that. So let's just talk about that a little bit. Out-of-state investor coming in Indianapolis, anything that they need to look out for when they're buying an Indy property or working with, a seller or an Indy or a wholesaler or whatever. So
I think that the important things are your location. If you want to make sure that the street is good, the house may be great. A wholesaler or even agent may, provide them a house and say, okay, look at these pictures, look at everything. Oh yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. It turns out that the street has 6 houses that have burned down. You have another 6 houses on this side that are all boarded up, and yours is the only house that's good. That's why they're trying to
Right.
fix it for you. So, you have that going on. You have, it's important to know, even with the house, it's beyond just the inside of the house. You got to look at the outside of the house too. You got to pay attention to the trees. I noticed that a lot of people don't pay attention to the trees. Trees in the city. Yeah, trees in the city,
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of these trees are older. And
Mm-hmm.
if they got limbs that are hanging over, whether it be, over the house or maybe over the neighbor's house, and that tree just so happens to be on your property line that you're going to buy, that becomes your responsibility. So
Mm-hmm.
there's certain things like that. There's a lot of different avenues to keep an eye out, but the biggest things are the street and the outside of your house, outside of the investment property, I should say. I keep saying your house because it's just a
Mm-hmm.
reaction with me to say that. It's more to the effect that you gotta just pay attention to that kind of stuff. Foundations are the key to me in anything. For me, it's the heart of the house. It's, again, the foundation. It's what it's sitting on, and I don't care if it's a full foundation, partial, a cellar like you were talking about, where people are doing meth out of, but it's also the slabs.
Mm-hmm.
People don't take this into consideration, that a slab will shift. Slabs
Mm-hmm.
move. They're movable. So they'll shift as the ground shifts. And when that happens, your slab will start to go like this, and you'll start noticing it. And all of a sudden you're walking going, wow, that's weird. I
Mm-hmm.
don't remember the house going on a level like that, but it's that kind of stuff that investors, out of state investors, particularly having good boots on the ground, having a good agent, having a good property manager, just takes time to get all that. It just doesn't happen overnight. And you got to interview a lot of people. You can't just go. I've seen a lot of mistakes from out of state out of state investors making the mistakes of, hey, I went with this person because, well, they were nice. Well, that's great.
Right.
They're nice.
Right.
Everyone can be nice, but if they're not giving you the right information,
Mm-hmm.
and I watched it with back in 2017 and 18 with
Mm-hmm.
all the people from California that really came in here,
For
and
sure.
they came in like real heavy,
Yeah.
and they were chasing everything, and they were believing everything, and it's like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, man, you guys, and some of them made some bad mistakes,
Right.
and I wouldn't say necessarily that they were wrong in some things, but there are some things that I'm like, yeah, you just bought completely wrong, and you got taken for the ride. And
Yeah.
I seen people sit there and tell one investor that the house is perfect, and on this street, people walk their dogs and they're push their children and I'm going, this is rural intent. Are you seriously? And then it was rural in Michigan, and it's right by the rural end, and
Mm-hmm.
which the rural end is a bar, liquor store,
Mm-hmm.
art, pool place, and stuff like that. And the street that's over a couple of streets down was this one, and me and this guy on Facebook got into an argument about it. I'm going, what are you kidding me? Have you been down that street?
Don't see anybody jogging.
Right. This isn't Fishers,
Right.
Carmel. This
Right.
isn't the suburbs here. So,
Yeah. No, for
um,
sure.
so people, you got to pay attention, and you got to listen to the people that you have here and get to know the locals.
Mm-hmm.
That's a real big important to get to know the locals here, because they will give you the best information. Not these out of state people who pretend like they know Indianapolis. Get to know the locals here, the ones who are here in the streets doing the stuff on a daily basis, and whether it be the wholesalers, whether it be the property management, whether it be somebody like me, agents, whatever. But get to know the people here. And this
Mm-hmm.
goes for any place you're investing.
Right. For
You
sure.
know, I mean, it did not just Indianapolis, anywhere you're investing, get to know the locals, get to know
Yeah.
them. That's what you need to know.
Yeah. No, that's great. That's great. And I think that's, if you're out of state, yeah, and you don't have anyone, and this is why we're even local, but we have people like Steve or even someone else go and look at the properties that has a better eye for condition and inspections than we do. And so yeah, just having that almost like that neutral boots on the ground. I always think that's just healthy. Like where, if I'm rehabbing a house, I don't want the GC to tell me what is kind of going on. I want a neutral person to come in to take a look
Yeah.
around, so they
Yeah.
don't have an interest in selling the property or getting paid right at the end of the
Right.
day. So,
I mean,
um,
that's why I came up with the third party consulting, is because I watch too many people. And
right.
then not even just out of state people, but local people get taken advantage of. I mean, there's a local guy who he lost $125,000, 80,000. I think it was $80,000. Yeah, there was 80,000 or 90,000 in cash, right? That he gave to this GC, and he lost like 30,000 in Menards stuff.
Yeah.
So the guy went to Menards and took out material, and he lost $30,000 worth of material on Menards. So that kind of stuff, it happened to a local guy. So these things happen, and that's why it's important to have other people kind of keeping an eye on things for you, and or at least somebody to lean on, somebody to go, hey, Steve, what's going on? Yeah, I got this thing going on. Could you, take a look, or do you got some advice? Something like that. Get to know people who have been in this market, and get to know people who've been in just real estate in general.
Yeah.
And to go back to don't always go to somebody outside. If you go somebody outside, make sure they have experience in real
Right.
estate, in doing flipping or whatever it is you're doing. It's
Right.
important.
No, for sure. For sure. There's a lot of things and just information going around, especially in Indianapolis. I mean, you guys might see some things coming out on TV or a show, news, stuff like that, just about real estate investors in general. And, um, and like you mentioned, Steve, there's been some things going on, and I've been in this business long enough that I've seen businesses go under. I've been taking it. I mean, if you've been in this business long enough, you're gonna trust someone, you're gonna get taken advantage of, right? Sometimes, and I've lost lots of money myself, right? So, but I think we learn from different things, and I try to learn from that. I'm like, hey, where did I go wrong here, and how can I learn from that? But is there anything else that like we should watch out for? I've seen property management companies go under or steal particular people's monies. From keeping all of the security deposits, for example. I
I
don't know.
know, I know a company that was stealing security deposits, and
Yeah.
there's, according to court documents stated they were spending it on, I believe it was tequila and Xbox games or something like that.
Gotcha. Okay.
And it's in the court documents, so I'm not
Yes.
making it
Yes.
up. I won't say the name of the company, but
Yeah. Yeah.
tequila and Xbox games.
But and we talked to even before the show, in every industry there's going to have good, there's going to have bad, but is there any types of tricks or things that maybe are as common that people can still watch out for when they're working with a wholesaler or even a realtor? um
I think you got to see how genuine the person is.
mhm,
If they're not genuine and they just seem like they're sales pitchy to you, yeah, you may want to question it. If they
mhm,
don't know the lingo, and maybe they know a couple words that are in real estate, and they're just dropping a couple of them, you may want to question it. If they just are rambling about themselves, you may want to question it.
mhm,
There's a, and this is wholesalers or realtors, and or even third party or boots on the ground, doesn't matter. If they're wound up into themselves, that's a huge problem.
mhm,
If they sit there and are like, oh yeah, I'm all about you, and in reality they're not.
mhm.
They're about their commission.
Yeah.
They're about whatever they're going to get paid on the wholesale deal, and then they just move on. I
Yeah.
see that quite a bit on both sides. So I'm
Mhm.
not picking on wholesalers and I'm not picking on agents. It's both sides. I
Right.
go back to that bad actor thing.
For
Uh,
sure.
some people, they're just in it for the money. They don't care whether they get the investor stuck into a property that they should never have been put in. in the first place. So you just talk to interview them, and then again, interview multiple people. Don't just interview one and go, okay, I'm going with that person. Just
right.
Yeah, I don't care how good they sound. Talk to other people, because you're going to get a gist after a while of how people are working.
Hey guys, this is Brett Snodgrass with Simple Quarters. I want to let you know that you can earn passive income with a company that you can trust. If you're looking for a safe and reliable way to earn a fair return on your hard-earned money, at Simple Quarters, we make it easy for you to invest passively. No work, no hassle, just steady returns. You don't have to buy a house. You don't have to fix anything. You don't have to hire a team or hire contractors. You really just want to earn a return on your investment. Then I would love to chat with you. We have a proven track record with great references. Your money should be working for you. And with Simple Quarters, you can invest confidently with a team that delivers results. You can email me at brett@simplequarters.com. You can check out our website, simplequarters.com. You can even text me on my local cell phone number at 812-216-8602. 812-216-8602. Again, I'm talking about earning an extremely passive income with a trusted company. Email me or text me today. Let's chat soon. A couple of just last questions as we wrap up the show here. And so obviously you mentioned a couple of these already, but if someone's walking into a vacant house for the first time, let's say they're new to investing, walking into a vacant house, they're thinking, hey, is this a good deal or not? Condition of the property or rehab? Anything that they really need to check out first? You mentioned foundation, obviously, which I think is important, checking out the foundation of the house. But beyond that, is there anything else that maybe could be a small problem, but could turn into a big problem? What do you kind of look for?
When I take people into houses, I always bring them through the front door after showing them the outside. I bring them into the front door and I go walk around. I just want them to walk around. I go, I don't want you to do anything else. I don't want you to look at everything. I just walk around. And then they get the feel of the flooring. Okay. Now this is more so with 1900 build homes, but it also is with 1980, 90, and 2000, because sometimes everything, the ground, settles and you start getting. We were in me and my wife were in a home that was built in 1998, and I'm not kidding. You could put a ball on the floor and watch that ball roll. It was truly mind-boggling. So it's when you walk on the floor, feel for it and feel how unlevel it is. Now, some of the 1900 build homes are just going to be that way. That's just how they are. And people usually know that because they know what they're getting into. But some of them are so dramatic that so I always tell people to walk around first. Get a feel for it. Get a feel like you're going to live there. Kind of like you're going to buy a new car. You're going to get in that car. You're going to and do that. So you get a feel for it and get a feel for the house and the layout. And
awesome. Yeah, no, it's great. That's great. Two last questions here. So do you have a deal and that you did or that you were a part of or that you saw that you kind of look back and like, man, that was a bonehead deal. That was just I regret doing that particular deal.
Yeah, my first rental property.
Okay.
My first rental property that I bought was just an absolute disaster. Constant evictions, just trash in the house, constant turnovers. I mean, we wound up evicting and have a forced eviction. And amazingly enough, the tenant came running out. I have the money.
Wow.
Really? Wow. All of a sudden you have the money. And, and then another one that we evicted out, carrying her child, but it has two cell phones and, new shoes and everything, but yet couldn't pay the rent. So, but that the first one that I had was my worst one, and it just nothing went right. And and the back end on that story real quick is I wound up selling that property. It didn't go so well for the next person either. I don't know. It was just this property for some reason. So I sold it off for 45. I think he sold it off for like 60. And then after that person bought it, this person was smart. They rehabbed it and sold it for 120.
Oh, there you go.
So I'm like, there you go. There's
nice.
Some good news at the end.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think one of my deals, obviously if you lose money, you look at the number of how much you lost, and you're like, oh, that was maybe the worst deal. This probably wasn't the one we lost the most on. It was top 3. But it was a deal. This was a few years ago, or 3 or 4 years ago. It was a deal in Anderson. And if you guys know Anderson, it's, about 20, 30 miles. I don't even know, north of Indy. It's coming around. It's a town that was, really kind of destitute there for a little while in certain areas, but it, got some investors coming in now. But anyways, there's this house in Anderson. I think I bought it, and it was a nicer neighborhood. But typically when I see Anderson, my prices are like really, really low, right? So I'm talking 20,000, 30,000, 40,000, 50,000, 60, whatever, or less. Now, certain areas, this area was nicer. It was a 200, it was probably 180 to 250K area. But I saw this deal come across, we were going to buy it, and ended up buying it for like 160,000. And I'm like, and Anderson for me, I'm like, that's a roll in the dice. Might as well play roulette table on this particular deal.
Yep.
And we tried, and it wasn't that great of a house. It was needed a lot of work. Anyways, we had it for a couple of years, didn't sell it. We ended up rehabbing it, and then finally, when it did end up selling, we lost about 80 on that one. That was probably one of the, looking back, because I shrieked a little bit when I first saw it. I was like, I shouldn't do this deal, and then still did it. Maybe she.
I think I know a deal that was.
Yeah.
I'm almost positive I know, because it was a nice house, wasn't it?
Yeah. It was, yeah. It ended up being nice. Yeah. We ended up selling it, for a good amount of money. But by the time you had holding costs for 2 years, 3 years, if you're holding a vacant house for 2 years, you're not going to make any money.
Absolutely. But I really like that. If it's the same house, I really like that house. It was a nice house. It had a lot of opportunity to be had on that house. But you're right. It's just that when you have your holding costs, that's another thing investors need to understand. Holding costs, be prepared for it, because this market's changing, folks.
Yeah. Yeah. So when you guys think about, the holding cost, I always say, depending on the price, but you might as well take $100 bill, just burn it every day you hold something. But more expensive, it could be $200, for the day. So, awesome. And you might not have an answer to this, Steve, but this is my my last question. But if you had a billboard that you could put up in Indianapolis, and it was specifically for Indy real estate investors, what would that say?
It would say, investors, not everything is located near or by Fountain Square. It just isn't.
Gotcha.
Okay? If it's located in Irvington, it's in Irvington. Irvington is not next to Fountain Square.
Right.
And Fountain Square is not the do or die all of Indianapolis. There's a lot of great neighborhoods that you can invest in.
That is true. We had a meetup. So we host a meetup, guys, it's the last Wednesday of the month. And it's down in Broad Ripple, at the Monon Works. And there was a newer investor there, and we were chatting, and he was new and just been into business for a few months. And he's like, he asked the questions like, so what do you think about Fountain Square? And, and honestly, I think my first gut is like, that ship has sailed.
Yes.
It was a very hot market several years ago, but with the Good Bone Show, and then, but I said, look for the next area that could be that, because there's a lot of great areas that could be that. So.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And in Fountain Square, I always tell everybody, it's gone. It's the boat sailed a long time ago. You're just picking up the scraps. That's all you want. Right. And, there's no guarantee of whether it's going to work or not. So,
yes,
but no, there's a lot of good areas here in Indy to invest in. There's anybody who says up and coming, you really got to stop saying that, because these areas have either up and come and gone, or they are just got up a little bit and then
they're not going anywhere.
but there is some excellent areas. There's not going to be another area like Fountain Square. I'm sorry. There just isn't. I don't believe there will ever be another one like that. Mm-hmm. That was a fluke. And I think, but there are good solid neighborhoods here where you can make some money.
Yeah, definitely. I know we've done some episodes about neighborhoods in the past, and I think we should probably revisit some of the neighborhoods that good things happening, good things going on.
I think we should, because I'm sure Dave would be up for that too. I mean, it's been a long time since we did a couple of those.
Yeah, that sounds great. Well, Steve, thank you so much for being on the Indie Investor Podcast. Really appreciate you, buddy.
Absolutely.
All right, we'll see you guys next time.